Hey guys, how are you? It's Leyla here, and today I'm finally filming the video on my book recommendations. Mimi has already done hers, and this has been highly requested video for both of us to do. So I finally gathered all the books with me here today. So I'm gonna go through each of these books relatively quickly, and then you guys can decide for yourselves if it's something you're interested in looking into further and maybe reading yourselves. So before I get into each of the books, I just want to kind of do a little side note and say that pretty much, well, some of these books for sure are going to be the same that Mimi has had in her video, and that's because we're both interested in the same topics and kind of recommend these books to each other. So you'll see a few of the repeats, but also that I think for myself, when I invest time into reading something, I wanted to enrich my soul and somehow improve my life in one way or another. So the books that I'm going to be talking to you today are all non-fiction and just sort of all on the same topic. So you'll notice me probably going through the same words or the same descriptions for most of these books because they're all kind of are talking about the same wisdom, talking about the same or similar principles about life and things like that. So that's just a little side note there. So the first book on my list will probably be on most of you guys' list as well. You've probably either heard of it or read it already, and it's just a classic. Mimi had it on her list as well, and this is Alchemist, and you cannot do a book recommendation video without talking about The Alchemist. It is just a beautiful story, a classic story. It's got a lot of wisdom by Paulo Coelho, one of my favorite authors. I have pretty much all of his books there on my bookshelf. I've read all of them. And he's just an amazing author, and this is a classic. So if you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. Just talks a lot about, you know, life and different paths in life, and just full of wisdom. I've read it many times, and I kind of feel like rereading it again. So this is definitely one of those books that if you haven't, you have to read. So the second book on my list is actually a personal favorite of mine of all time. This book has literally changed my life. It has helped me, it has shaped me to become the person that I am today. It really opened up my eyes onto so many different things about life and God and love and relationships and people in general and just the universe, and it's the most beautiful book ever. It's called Conversations with God by Neale Donald Walsch, and it is definitely my little Bible. I kind of probably read it 5-6 times throughout the 8 years, and every time I read it I get something new out of it. It's just it's got everything in it. I mean, whether or not you're religious or whatever, I still recommend this book because I think it will answer some of the questions that most people have about what is God, what are human beings, why are we all here, what is our purpose, who are we really. All those questions are answered in a very clear, simple, precise manner, but also with a little bit of a humor to it. So I just love it. I've recommended it to so many people, and every person that has read it has had a huge change in their life. It's just one of those things that you have to kind of research and see if you're ready for something like this. But I highly recommend it. This is my little Bible. So that's that. The second author that I'm going to talk about, I have 4 of his books here, is Don Miguel Ruiz, and this is also was on Mimi's list, and the book that she recommended was Mastery of Love, and this right here is like a collection of 3 of the books, and it features Mastery of Love, 4 Agreements, Voice of Knowledge by the same author again, Don Miguel Ruiz. And then I have another book right here, and there is also another one. So I think there's 4 or 5 books in total, and I recommend all of them to you guys because just like this one right here, it's my personal little Bible in terms of it just explains so much about love and our personal relationships with ourselves and how important it is to understand what love truly is and how you can't have expectations. It's just simple wisdom and simple rules on how to live your life and how to improve your life and your relationships with people, with yourself most importantly. It's just it's one of those things that, like I said, not everyone will be ready for, but if these types of topics interest you, then you will definitely enjoy these. I'm actually rereading The Mastery of Love right now, again, probably third or fourth time already. And the first time I read it, oh my god, I just remember my favorite time to read is at night, like right before I go to sleep. So I usually read at that time. And the first time I was reading Mastery of Love, I think I was going through a breakup at that time, and oh my gosh, it just made so much sense about just understanding what love is and how important it is to develop self-love and not have expectations in relationships. It's just an amazing little book right here. It's really small, so you can read it in either one sitting if you want to spend a couple hours, or in a few days. I personally like to read it in small increments because I just, you know, I always get something new out of it. It's amazing, it's beautiful, it's simply written, just you know, an amazing little wisdom-filled book. And it says right here, a practical guide to the art of relationships, and I 100% completely agree. So again, I have here Mastery of Love that I recommend, the 4 Agreements, this is the companion book, and then there's also the 4 Agreements, the original book. And again, it's just a practical guide to personal freedom. This is what this one is about, and it just gives you simple rules on, and they're not really rules, but simple guidelines on how to live your life so that you're balanced and happy and have a good relationship with yourself, with God, universe, whatever name you want to give it, and the people around you. So these, this author and these series of books are definitely a must-read from my side to you guys. And then another author that is really played a huge important role in my life and shaping me into who I am today, and also helping me understand, kind of expanding on the same topics that Conversations with God talks about, but in more detail, and it kind of breaks down what we consist of. And it's the author is Eckhart Tolle, and the first book is, again, I'm sure most of you have heard of it or read it already, but it is The New Earth: Awakening to Your Life's Purpose. And again, it's just an incredible little guide on understanding who you are, what your purpose is on this planet. It answers so many questions. Again, this one right here, I recommend reading maybe in chapters, because there's a lot of wisdom in it, and it's really hard and it can be overwhelming if you just kind of read it and you don't understand. You have to let it sort of sink in, and if you have to read it slowly in little increments, that's fine. That's how I usually do it. And an incredible wisdom-filled book that will literally change your life. If you are ready for this type of information to enter your life, it honestly has the power to change your life around. And another one of his books is Power of Now, that I also love so much. And it just talks about how important it is to be present in the moment, and it just covers so much. I don't want to give too much away by talking a lot about these books. I kind of want to just recommend them to you guys, and you can do your research and kind of read about it and see if it's something you would be interested in. But again, it just transforms your thinking, and it just makes you more joyful and really present, and I love it. So Eckhart Tolle, both of these books are a must-read for me. So again, these are kind of books that I have and I always go back to. I kind of and every time I do, I will always get something new out of it. So these, the books that I've talked about so far are all kind of books that I will go back to and reread time and time again. So the books I've talked about so far were all non-fiction, kind of talking about life and relationships and God and love and things like that. And the next book is actually a fiction story, and it's called The Teaching of Little Crow, The Journey of the Soul by Angelina Hart. And I don't remember how I came across this book. It was probably 2-3 years ago, and at the time it was exactly what I needed. Like the questions I had in my heart, this book answered every single one of them. It's a romantic story talking about, kind of giving you an understanding of what soulmates are, what twin flames are. It kind of gives you a new concept, on a deeper concept of soulmates, and it's the twin flames. It's just a beautiful story, again, wisdom filled through, you know, a fictional story, and it really helped me understand on what are twin flames and how important it is to be reunited with your twin flame in this lifetime, to have the ultimate power that two people can have together. So again, this is by Angelina Hart, Teaching of Little Crow. Very interesting. If you like, it's not too, I wouldn't say it's like overly cheesy romantic. It's just a really beautiful story, a personal journey of this one person, and how the lady in the book kind of helps him out, and then in the end they are each other's twin flames. It's just a beautiful, beautiful story. And again, at the time when I was reading it, it answered so many questions, and I just felt like, you know, the universe was talking to me through the book. Actually, all of these books, I know it probably sounds a little crazy to you guys, but the universe is always talking to us if we're willing and open to receive the answers. And I feel like in my life, answers usually come through books. So all of these books right here has shaped me into the person I am today, and at one point or another came at the exact perfect timing for me. So I have just two books right here, and I think this one right here Mimi talked about. It's by Mitch Albom, and it's the Tuesdays with Morrie classic book. Again, the story, it's based on a true story. The author sharing his little story about a relationship he had with his professor. So this, I just cried so much during reading this book. It covers topics as, I guess, emotional as death, and going through death and sickness and things like that. And just I'm getting emotional just thinking about it, but it's a beautiful story, and I think it's a must read to kind of help you understand and appreciate your health and what you have right now. And it just makes you understand relationships between people. So again, this is definitely a must read, and it's not very thick either, so you can finish it probably in a day or two, depending on how fast you read. And then the last book is that I just read recently that has also changed my life, and this is Skinny Bitch. If you guys follow us on Twitter or Facebook, you know that we talked about it, tweeted and Facebooked about this, how it literally changed my life. Mimi has been a vegetarian for a long time, so you know, to her the stuff wasn't news or didn't really change her life, but I became a pescatarian. Really, I'm not really putting a label on myself so much so far, but I stopped eating meat and chicken fully after I read this book. It not only talks about the importance of knowing like what's on your plate, where the food comes from, it just opens your eyes to so many things about the food industry and all the organizations that are supposed to be protecting us, and how, you know, at the end of the day, it's all about business, it's all about greed, and you just have to be informed about what's out there, where the food's coming from. You don't have to become a vegetarian after reading this, but I think that if you read chapter 6, to me was the hardest, absolute heart-wrenching, life-changing, traumatic chapter I've ever read in my entire life. I don't even have words to describe how I felt after I read that chapter. And basically it talks about factory farms and the animals there, and I'm not gonna get into details because I will literally start crying just talking about it right now. But I think it's important, whether or not you think you never want to give up meat or whatever, it's not about that. I think it's just very, very, very important to know, to be informed, and to have the knowledge. And then once you read it and once you have the knowledge, then you can decide for yourself whether or not you want to make a change in your life by becoming a vegetarian or not, or eliminating, at least buying organic meat and eggs and cheese and all that. Anyways, again, I'm not gonna go into the book too much and give away too much, but you guys can do your research and see if it's something that will interest you. So this concludes all the books. I probably could find a few more, but I think this is a good starting point, and definitely I've narrowed it down to books that have helped me in my life, have answered a lot of questions that I've had, and you know, it changed my life in ways that I could never probably ever be exposed to these types of wisdoms. So I really highly recommend these books, but again, not everyone will be ready for all these books, so do your own research, read about the books and see what kind of speaks to your heart. Hope you're having a beautiful day, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!